The scent of freshly sharpened pencils and cheap cafeteria pizza always takes me back. Back to Northwood High, to the squeak of sneakers on polished linoleum, and to him. Ethan. He was the kind of handsome that made every girl's heart do a little flutter kick, even mine, though I tried to play it cool. Dark, messy hair that always looked like he'd just rolled out of bed, eyes the color of a stormy sea, and a smile that could melt glaciers. He was the star quarterback, naturally, and I was. Well, I was just Maya, the quiet girl who preferred the dusty corners of the library to the roaring bleachers of the football field. Our story, if you can even call it that, began in junior year. It was a cliché, really. We were assigned as lab partners in Mr. Harrison's chemistry class. I remember dreading it. He was boisterous, I was reserved. He excelled at sports, I excelled at, well, not sports. The first few weeks were excruciating. He'd try to crack jokes that I didn't get, or he'd lean over my shoulder, his arm brushing mine as he pointed at a beaker, and I'd go rigid, my cheeks flushing. I was convinced he found me utterly boring, a distraction from his actual friends and his exciting life. But then something shifted. One afternoon, we were supposed to be studying for a big test, and he actually started asking me questions about the material. Not in a test me way, but in a genuine I don't understand this and you clearly do way. I found myself explaining the intricacies of chemical bonds, and he actually listened, his stormy eyes focused on me. When he finally understood a concept, a slow, easy smile spread across his face, and for the first time I saw him not as Ethan, the untouchable jock, but as just Ethan, a guy who sometimes needed help. From that day on, our lab sessions became less about awkward silences and more about comfortable companionship. We'd finish our experiments quickly, then spend the rest of the time talking about everything and nothing. He told me about his dreams of playing college football, about the pressure from his dad, and about how sometimes he just wanted to escape it all. I, in turn, confessed my secret love for classic literature and my dreams of becoming a writer, a revelation that surprised him, but which he greeted with an unexpected enthusiasm. One rainy Friday, after a particularly grueling chemistry lab, he walked me to my locker. The hallway was almost empty, the echoes of departing students slowly fading. He stopped just before my locker, turning to face me. The fluorescent lights hummed above us, casting a pale glow on his face. "Maya," he began, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I really like talking to you." My heart did that little flutter kick again, but this time it wasn't out of nerves, but out of a dizzying, hopeful sensation. Before I could even process what he was saying, he leaned in, his breath warm against my cheek, and his lips met mine. It was a clumsy, sweet, and utterly perfect first kiss. A spark ignited, a quiet, undeniable flame that had been flickering between us all along. From then on, Ethan and I were an item. It was a shock to everyone, most of all to me. The quiet, bookish girl and the popular jock. We were an unlikely pair, but somehow it worked. He'd sneak me little notes in class, always adorned with a quick, playful doodle. He'd pick me up for school dances, his hand a warm, comforting presence in mine. And he'd spend hours in my room, not watching sports, but listening to me read passages from my favorite books, sometimes even asking me to explain the more complex themes. Our love story blossomed through senior year. We had big plans. He was getting scouted by several colleges for football, and I was applying to writing programs. We talked about visiting each other on weekends, about making it work, no matter the distance. We were invincible, or so I thought. Then came Sarah. Sarah wasn't new to Northwood, but she had been away for a year, living with her grandparents. She reappeared in our senior year, a whirlwind of vibrant red hair, sparkling green eyes, and an infectious laugh that seemed to draw everyone in. She was beautiful, vivacious, and everything I wasn't. She was also Ethan's childhood best friend. At first, I didn't think much of it. Of course, he'd be happy to see his old friend. They'd known each other since kindergarten, after all. But then the little things started. He'd spend more time with her, ostensibly catching up. He'd talk about her constantly, recounting funny stories from their shared past. When I brought it up gently, he'd brush it off with a dismissive wave of his hand. Maya, she's just a friend. You're being silly. But I wasn't being silly. I saw the way his eyes lingered on her when she wasn't looking. I heard the way his voice softened when he spoke to her. And I felt the growing distance between us, a chasm that widened with every shared laugh, every inside joke I wasn't privy to. One afternoon, I walked into the school library looking for a particular book. As I turned a corner, I saw them, Ethan and Sarah. They were at one of the secluded tables in the back, heads bent close together. His hand was resting on hers, his thumb gently stroking her knuckles. My breath hitched in my throat. It wasn't just a friendly gesture. It was intimate. It was possessive. A cold wave of realization washed over me, chilling me to the bone. It wasn't just a friend anymore. It was something more. My heart, which had been so full of him, felt like it was crumbling into a million tiny pieces. I backed away silently, the book I was searching for forgotten. I ran out of the library, out of the school, and didn't stop until I was safely in my car, hot tears blurring my vision. That night when he called, I pretended to be sick. I couldn't face him, not yet. The next day, I avoided him. But eventually, the confrontation was inevitable. He found me by my locker after school, his stormy eyes clouded with concern. Maya, what's wrong? You've been avoiding me all day. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my trembling voice. Ethan, I began, my voice barely a whisper. What's going on with you and Sarah? His jaw tightened. He looked away, then back at me, a flicker of guilt in his eyes. Maya, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice rising. I saw you yesterday in the library with her. He winced. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Finally, he sighed, a sound of resignation. Maya, I'm sorry, I really am. The words were like daggers, piercing through whatever fragile hope I had left. He didn't deny it. He didn't try to explain it away. He just apologized, and in that apology, I heard the confirmation of my worst fears. Why Ethan? I asked, my voice breaking. Why her, why now? He ran a hand through his messy hair, looking utterly miserable. I don't know, Maya, it just happened. She came back. And it was familiar. It was easy. We have so much history. And what about our history? I choked out, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. What about all our plans? He reached out for me, but I recoiled, unable to bear his touch. Maya, please, don't cry. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, I whispered, the words heavy with pain. You did hurt me, more than you could ever imagine. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there in the empty hallway. My heart was shattered, but a strange sense of clarity settled over me. Our story wasn't the fairy tale I had imagined. It was a lesson, a painful, necessary one. A lesson about trust, about vulnerability, and about the harsh reality that sometimes even the deepest connections can break. The next few weeks were a blur of tears, anger, and a desperate attempt to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. My friends rallied around me, offering comfort and support. I threw myself into my studies, found solace in my books, and started writing again, pouring all my pain and confusion onto the pages of my journal. Ethan tried to talk to me a few times, but I refused. I needed space, needed time to heal. I saw him and Sarah together in the hallways, their hands often intertwined, their laughter echoing through the school. It still stung, a sharp, bitter pain, but with each passing day the pain lessened, replaced by a growing sense of detachment. Graduation came and went. I got into my dream writing program, miles away from Northwood High. As I walked across the stage, accepting my diploma, I caught Ethan's eye in the crowd. He offered a small, tentative smile. I didn't smile back, but I didn't look away either. There was no anger, no hatred, just a quiet understanding. We were different people now, heading in different directions. Years later, I sometimes wonder about him. I hear snippets of news through mutual friends. He played a few years of college football, then settled down in a small town, coaching high schoolers. Sarah is still with him, I hear. They have a family. And me, I'm a writer now. I've published a few books, and I'm living a life I once only dreamed of. The quiet girl from Northwood High found her voice, not just in words, but in life. The memory of Ethan and our young love still exists, a faint echo in the corridors of my mind, a poignant reminder of a time when everything felt both impossibly fragile and undeniably real. It wasn't the happily ever after I'd envisioned, but it was a beginning. A beginning of finding myself, beyond the whispers in the hallway and the heartache of a first love lost.